Okay. So we've not got anybody here yet. I'm a little bit early because last time I'm not sure if there was like a latency problem, and so a few people said they got there at 11 and nothing was happening. So I've started like a few minutes early, I think, but hopefully you'll join soon. So whilst I'm just waiting for, one person's arrived, hello. Whilst I'm just waiting for a few more people to arrive, maybe we'll just get started and hopefully everyone can just join in as they get here. So I'll just recap in case you're new from yesterday. So basically, obviously we're doing breathing, but at the same time, it's linked to your whole body. So one of our main aims is that we want to just make sure that everything is as relaxed as possible. I've got a message, hi Philippa, I cannot join because I'm at the office, but we'll watch in the evening. Great, okay, good, look forward to seeing you later. Hi Simon. Okay, so we want everything to just be nice and relaxed. Everybody has their particular kind of stress points. For example, for me personally, I know that I hold a lot of tension in my shoulders. That's quite a common place to hold tension. So sometimes, especially if I'm stressed, and I'll be kind of all this bad posture and stuff, but I'm quite aware of it. So it's, for me, it's always something on my mind to try and keep that nice and relaxed. But different people have their different stress points. So as well, sometimes it's useful to look in the mirror, or for me right now, because I'm looking at my screen, so it's kind of like looking in the mirror. And sometimes you might feel like you're standing really straight, but if you were to look in the mirror, you're actually like this, or something kind of is wrong. So and then it feels, but when you straighten up, you feel lopsided because you're kind of used to being that way around or something. So it's good to just be aware of your body, and there's kind of no right and wrong. It's just about relaxing and trying to get to the right, however well trained you are or anything, you're still gonna have problems and think bad habits creep in. So it's just about kind of keeping that in your mind and trying to keep everything nice and relaxed. I've just got a comment. Do you suggest doing the exercises for the warm-up before singing or several times a day? So it's good to, if you are going to be singing, it's good to do a warm-up. A bit like, if you think of it like if you were a sprinter or something, you'd want to do your stretches before your race specifically, but equally you'd want to be just training regularly even if you don't have a race that day. So it's kind of, any time you get to do it is great. If you did have, say if you were a singer, if you did have a gig, it's a good idea to warm up beforehand. But in a general sense, it's a training thing. I like to think of it like, because I used to do a little bit of dancing, and if you want to be able to do the splits, some people naturally can do it, but for a lot of people, everyone knows how to do the splits, it's just you can't necessarily physically do it. And you don't do a few stretches and then bam, you can just do it. Hi. You would want to stretch every day for a year or something, and gradually you get more and more flexible. And so it's kind of like that, even if you have no performances. Let's get started, the same thing. So we're going to be sort of swinging from our hips and just let our arms kind of flop round. Make sure you've got enough space. A few times I've sort of whacked my hand on something, but yeah, so we're just gonna gets our blood flowing. We want to be nice and warm. We want our feet ideally hip distance apart. So to find that, you find your sort of hip bone, and then ideally if you put your finger pointing down on that sort of hip bone, and then your big toe would be sort of over that hip. Knees a little bit bent, so we're nice and relaxed. And again, like I say, every time, you know, whatever you're doing, we are sort of stretching ourselves. Sometimes it's not such a bad thing if it's a little uncomfortable, but you should know your own body, and you know, there's uncomfortable and there's uncomfortable, and you know, if something's hurting or you know, feeling like it's not doing you good, then just stop, sit that one out, or just do it a bit more gently or slowly or whatever, you know. Again, like the same, if you were stretching to go for a run, you know when you know, sometimes it hurts a little bit, but in a good way, and sometimes it can hurt in a bad way, and you've got to be the judge of that. Especially right now, because I'm not in the room, I can't see what you're doing. So, you know, just be good to your body, you know. Okay, and just shake that out. And speaking of being good to your body, always, especially if you are a singer, always have water and stuff like that, stay hydrated and stuff. Okay, so we're gonna, again, hip distance apart with our feet. We're just gonna bend our knees and just breathe normally. But all the while, so last session, I was describing how your diaphragm just sits kind of at the bottom. If you feel your ribs, the bottom of your ribs and how they go like this, that's where your diaphragm is. It just sits kind of under your ribs like this. And the way in which we all breathe is that as the diaphragm pushes down and the air, the lungs fill with air, and then when you push your diaphragm up, the diaphragm's a muscle, you push your diaphragm up, you push out the air. So what we're going to do now is continue bending and straightening our legs. And we're going to add in the arm movement. The arms are going to come in, and as the arms come in, with imagining this being the diaphragm pushing up the air, and then out, opening out the rib cage. So you can breathe kind of normally, but visualizing your diaphragm. I'll make a bit more of a sound so that if anyone's just joining, they can follow what's going on. We're going to go to the side. And shake it out, very good. Okay, so this will be a little bit repetitious. I'm gonna, certainly for this first week, do very similar things. But in general, like I say, it's not rocket science. We all kind of know how to breathe, but it's just practicing. In the same way we all know how to do the splits. It's just, you know, can you physically do it? You know, if you want to train, you've got to do it a bit every day. I mean, well, I say you've got to do it every day. Depends what, if you're watching these videos, it depends what you want this for. I mean, some people, like in the past when I've done face-to-face things, and you know, some people, if they have like, for example, a choir rehearsal or something in the evening, they might want a session that day so that they warm up for their choir. If you want to be professional, you know, it depends how long you want to do a session, all these things. But something else I want to say before we move on, because somebody was saying to me about how they might want to sit down whilst they're doing the session. And the thing is, so ultimately, if you're kind of a fully trained opera singer, you would be able, because it's a bit of a myth that you have to stand up to sing. If you're a fully trained opera singer, which is kind of the gold standard, then you could stand on your head and sing correctly. You know, you should be able, if you ever watch any opera, sometimes they sit down, sometimes they're lying down, or in all sorts of weird positions, you know, whilst they're singing. If you've got the training, you'll be able to do it. Obviously, that's very advanced, but, you know, you don't need to be standing up, but ideally you would be thinking of your posture. So if you're doing these sessions and you're thinking, I'm not doing this to be a singer, I'm doing it because like at work I want to be able to, you know, when I'm sat at a computer or something, and I want to be able to kind of, you know, relax in that way or something, you know, so then maybe do these sessions, you know, obviously these movement ones standing up, but then when we just come on to just general breathing, you can do it sitting down. Or, you know, if what I find with people as well when I do face to face is like, let's say we start off standing up, and after about a year or 2 years, you know, people start to get it a little bit in their body, and then we do it sitting down, and it all goes because, you know, you're trained in the mindset and physically, and it's becoming a bit automatic, and then you change your position, and suddenly it's like starting from scratch. So, you know, what I would say is that ideally, eventually, we'll all be able to do it, like say standing on your head or whatever position that you might be in. But to begin with, you know, obviously it takes time because it's kind of a training. So what I would suggest in general, if you're a bit more advanced and you want to kind of mix it up and you've realised that you're very good standing up, not so good sitting down, then maybe sit down for a bit or lie down, or, you know, do whatever you want to do. Sometimes I will suggest different positions, but for right now we're probably just going to be standing up. If you're a singer and you normally sing standing up, and that's kind of what you're wanting these sessions for, then stand up, because that's mainly what you're working towards. If you normally sit at a computer, you know, whatever position works for you, you're welcome to do that, or you can just follow along and just do what I'm suggesting. So for right now, we'll be sitting or standing, or if you want to, you know, lie down and look up at the ceiling. But ideally, so we'll be hip width apart if we're standing. If you're sitting, make sure you don't cross your legs, or you know, just have your legs nice and relaxed with your feet sort of firmly on the ground. Whether we're standing or sitting, you know, we kind of want equal weight on, think of your foot like a tripod, so it's like the big toe, the kind of ball of your foot, and the heel, so you've got equal weight distribution. Slightly bent knees, or at least don't lock the knees straight. So again, for me personally, that's somewhere that I have tension, so if I'm trying to stand in a relaxed position, I need to slightly bend my knees, otherwise I just lock them tight. But, you know, if you're able to just relax, then that's fine. And where we're looking, we want to find a spot on the wall or out the window or somewhere that is roughly, or ideally, if you're looking in a mirror, so that it's kind of your eye height, so that we're not looking up, we're not looking down, we've just got a nice sort of straight, and we're just going to breathe, just breathe normally to start with. And whilst you're breathing, what I want you to do, we're going to go through all the different parts of our body and just try and make sure that everything is nice and relaxed. Again, if you are looking in a mirror, all the better, because then you can kind of see what's happening. But we're not going to necessarily consciously kind of move anything, but I'm going to talk through the different parts of the body, and you're just going to think to relax that part, because quite often, if you just kind of think it, your body kind of fills in the gaps, whereas if you try and relax it, then you're sort of doing something, and sometimes that tenses it all the more. So we're just going to go through, starting with just the top of your head. Is that in the right position? And if you don't know, you want to find your crown. Imagine you're a puppet with a string coming out the top of your head, and it's sort of, that's the kind of shape you want. And moving down, is your jaw nice and relaxed? And your chin, your neck, and all the little vertebrae in your neck, down your shoulders, all the way down your arms to your elbows, down your forearms to your wrists, all the way down your hands to your fingertips, Then your rib cage, down your tummy, hips, bum. It's a very big muscle. Lots of people hold tension there. Nice and relaxed. Down your thighs, knees, calves, ankles, heels, down the balls of your feet, all the way to the tips of your toes. Nice and relaxed. And as you're breathing, I want you to start trying to visualize your diaphragm, like we talked about, here, just sitting under your rib cage. And that diaphragm is going to push that air out of your lungs. And then I want you to just slightly hold it when you've pushed out all the air. And then when you need to, rather than taking in a breath, I just want you to relax and let the diaphragm drop down. And then we're going to push the air back out. So keep going. Don't worry if your breath is longer or shorter than mine. You know, we've all got different lung capacities, and we're all probably different stages of being warmed up. Even if you're very well trained, sometimes if you're a bit tired or something, it takes a little bit longer to get into it. Don't worry. None of this is a competition. All we're trying to do is just improve our own bodies, just get more relaxed, better breath control. So on the next one, I want you to make a sort of a f sound. And what I want you to remember is, in these exercises, we're always trying to push the air out. And then we just relax and let the air suck back in. So I don't want any because then you're making such a small gap for the air to get out that you can't push it out quickly enough. So we want a nice space. So keep an eye on your shoulders as you're doing it. Lots of people, when they take the breath in, are like, that's wrong. Even though obviously that is attached to your rib cage, but we want the rib cage opening out and out this way, so you more would see it kind of in your tummy, if you see what I mean. When the rib cage, if you put your hands kind of on the bottom, and then in the next one, so as you're squeezing out the air, and then you relax and just drop it, and everything expands here. So thinking of when we're doing this with our arms, and some people as well, they feel a bit squeamish about visualizing their own lungs inside their body, which I can understand that. I'm not judging. If you'd rather think of it as being kind of balloons, or I quite like the idea of a syringe where because you have to push the syringe to get whatever out of it, and then if it wasn't a very strong syringe, then it falls back down and the air sucks back in. I think that's quite a good metaphor. If you've got other ways that you like to think about it, send me a message or leave a comment or something, because it's all really good. If we can share all our knowledge, that's all the better. So let's now swap from a f sound to a sh sound. And again, we want to focus on pushing out the air, so we don't want it to be too nice, open. this is good for me because I don't know if any of you were watching me at that moment, but I just suddenly clocked, because again, another place where I have tension, I tend to stand like this. That's my bad posture. And then I noticed it because I was looking at myself and I thought, no, this is the better posture. So, and like I say, all these things, it does take years, and in some ways it's a sort of continuous journey. Oh, that's a good one. Lee Russell, who I know is a writer, I'm not surprised that she's come up with a good metaphor. What about like a loaf of bread rising, or a souffle rising and then dropping? Although hopefully if you're making a souffle it would just rise and not drop. But yeah, so anything that you like to think that can sort of expand and contract, because it is a muscle, so that's what we're doing. So where are we? Shh. Okay, so okay, and shake it out. I always like to do this kind of like shake it out between lots of exercises, because funnily enough, even though all these exercises, we keep saying like relax, make sure everything's relaxed, but like I said, as I was doing it, I noticed a couple of bad habits kind of creeping in for me. And that's the thing, there's, in a way, all you're thinking about is breathing, and we all are born being able to breathe. But at the same time, once you start connecting all the stuff that you're doing here, which it kind of is quite complicated because you don't normally think about it, and then you're also trying to make sure every part of your body is relaxed, and it's a lot going on, bad habits start creeping in. So as you're concentrating on relaxing this part of your body, that part of your body starts tensing up and things like this. So, it is good to look in the mirror, and it's also good to just remember that, this takes time. Like I said earlier, I think it takes an opera singer like 6 years to train. So there's no rush, and we're not all professional opera singers. So we're working at our pace, and as long as we're kind of improving, that's all that matters. Okay, let me see, what's the time? Okay, so now I want to do the slightly more meditation part of this. Just got another comment. Very much like core exercises that we use as part of oh wow, archery. I've never done archery, but yeah, see, this is the thing, because I started doing Pilates, like before lockdown, I started doing a bit of Pilates, and we did, certain things that I was like, oh yeah, we did that. And my dad actually does Tai Chi, and he showed me some of the stuff that he's done. And actually, when we were at drama school, we did a little bit of Tai Chi, and all these things, what you'll find is it's like, because I'm not a very sporty person or athletic or anything, but the more different kind of things that you start getting into, the more you realise it's kind of all about your core and, breathing. And this is why I was saying, it helps with kind of stress relief and all sorts of things, because breathing is obviously so fundamental to kind of everything that you do, that it does all kind of connect. And that's why, like I said, if you just clench your fist, you're not just clenching your fist, you'll feel it in this muscle, in this bicep here, and then there'll be tension in your shoulder, and that comes through to your, everything that you do affects your breathing, and your breathing affects everything you do. So if you can kind of override that and control that breathing, then you can sort of achieve quite a lot in other ways. I don't know. Anyway, okay. So let's stand or sit or lie or whatever position we're in, but be nice and comfortable, nice and relaxed. Again, thinking about everything. Try and sort of imagine all the different parts of your body are all in the correct place, and everything's nice and relaxed. You're not using any muscles that don't need to be used, and everything's just where it should be. And we're just going to breathe. Now, whilst you're breathing, I want you to try and put together everything we've done today. Let your diaphragm drop to suck in the air, and then slowly but forcefully pushing out all that air. And when you get to the end of that breath, just hold it for as long as you can, and then allow the diaphragm to just drop as you relax. And whilst with half your mind you're concentrating on doing that, I want you to listen very carefully to any sounds you can hear outside of the room that you're in. If you want to close your eyes, that's fine. So there might be a car driving past, or you might have housemates downstairs, or any sound outside the room. And now, whilst you continue concentrating on your breathing, pushing that air out as your diaphragm comes up, pushes up, squeezes the air out of your lungs, and then relaxes and just drops down, sucking that air back in. I want you to come a little bit closer with your listening and just listen to all the sounds in the room you're in. It might be silent, or there might be a sort of hum of a radiator or a clock ticking, but just concentrate on whatever sounds or lack of sounds there are inside the room. Continuing with the breathing, pushing that air out as you push with your diaphragm, squeezing those little balloons or lungs or souffles. So all the air comes out, and then just relax. And the diaphragm drops and the air sucks back in. And now I want you to come a little bit closer in, and you're just going to listen to the sounds that your own body is making. So maybe you can hear your breathing, maybe you're breathing silently, maybe you can hear your heart beating, a little tummy rumble, whatever sounds your own body is making. Now, whilst you continue with the breathing, relax the diaphragm and everything drops down, air sucks back in. Push that diaphragm to squeeze out the air from your lungs. And then relax, and the air sucks back in. Whilst you continue doing that, I want you to put all the three things together that we've just done. So you're listening to your own body, you're listening to the room, and you're listening to outside the room. And as you're doing that, I want you to just think of your body in the space and time, and how you connect with that outside world and in the room, so that you're aware of your surroundings, but you're still focusing on you and what your breathing is doing. idea of doing this in this way, because we're all in different places, but we're all kind of breathing that same air at the same time, even though it might be a different time to some people. But and when you're ready, just slowly open your eyes. Just look around, realise where you are. Very good session. Well done, everybody. And I will be back tomorrow at 11 again. And I'll be doing Monday to Friday. So hopefully I will see you again in the next session. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, thank you, Matthew. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. It's really encouraging for me because I want to be doing this, and sometimes when you're just doing it on your own, you know, you don't quite have the motivation. So it's really helping me that you've all come. I really hope you've got something out of this. Obviously, usually if I was doing a session like this face to face, I would get paid. But I want to say everything on my channel, especially at the moment, you know, before in any case, I'm a busker. Somebody enjoyed that, nearly fell asleep. Awesome. Well, that's good because it's good to relax. It's also good to sort of stay awake. I mean, sometimes when we did this in training, sometimes people would fall asleep, and you know, you're kind of not supposed to, because you're supposed to be kind of present in the moment. But you know, at the same time, if you can control your body enough to relax it, then sometimes you do fall asleep, and that's okay, you know. Anyway, I have put my PayPal in the description and my Patreon. Please don't feel obligated to give, especially at these times. Like, I appreciate everybody is, you know, going through kind of all this weird COVID stuff. When, like, I'm a busker at heart, so like that's normally my day job. So, you know, my kind of philosophy anyway is to play for tips. It's enough for me that you're just here. I really, really appreciate that. But obviously, anything you can spare is also very much appreciated. But anyway, yeah, thank you so much for coming, and hopefully I will see you soon. Bye.